What's going on, dividend chasers? It's the Dividend Bloodhound here, back with another investing episode. Today's episode we're going to talk about the best UK stocks that I bought on the stock market this week. If that sounds like something that you'd enjoy, then do please stick around after the intro because we'll be getting all about it. I've got some brilliant stocks to bring to you today. That being said, if this video does bring you some value, please give it a like for the algorithm. That massively helps out the channel and myself, of course. And if you're brand new here and you haven't subscribed to the channel, it'd be absolutely fantastic if you could do that too, and even consider ticking that notification bell as well. That all being said, I'll see you on the switch side of the intro. Catch you there. Hey again guys, welcome into the video. So as already mentioned, today we're talking about the best UK stocks that I bought this week and added to my portfolio, or should I say averaged down the positions in my portfolio because I already owned all of these stocks, but a lot of them presented a buy opportunity that I simply could not pass up on. The UK market over the last week or so has recovered slightly since its September lows and is roughly about to finish 100 points up. So the last couple of weeks or so the market has dipped, and this has represented quite a good buy opportunity for many investors. And all the positions that I'm adding to today, or I'm going to bring to you today, have actually suffered slight reductions in their share prices over the last week or so, which presented me with the opportunity that I'm taking advantage of. So the market has suffered lately due to fears of lockdown 2.0, a nationwide lockdown 2.0 rearing its head on the horizon. We also have localised lockdowns here in the UK, so the government's trying not to lock down the whole country, but more and more places seem to be coming under this lockdown now, millions and millions of people and of course businesses, which is not good for the economy or the market. And then further down the line we also have the end to the government's furlough scheme, so we could potentially have an unemployment crisis coming very, very shortly. Some would argue it is already here, but with the furlough scheme ending and not being replaced like for like, people only expect, myself included, only expect this to get worse before it gets better. So our first stock today is GSK. This is a strong dividend paying stock, has got a fantastic history. Its price is significantly down at the moment, hovering around the £14.70. I was about 8 or 9% down in my portfolio on this one, so I thought it would be absolutely great and high time that I added some more. The dividend yield is over 5% and it is nicely covered at 1.4 times over, so there's no worries about this dividend being at risk anytime soon. They're also working on a vaccine for the pandemic. This, if they make some significant progress on it and announce it to the world, could send the share price absolutely skywards, which would be something to take advantage of. Although for me personally, I'm in for the dividend income rather than the share price growth. They've also got the merger or part merger they've got going on with Pfizer in the future, where they're both going to merge their consumer goods together and then outsource that as a separate company, so that's also weighing on the share price as well. But for me, there is very little risk there. It's just about averaging down my position to make sure that going forward I get even more returns on my investment. Our next company is Royal Dutch Shell, or RDSB. I averaged down this one. I brought a few more shares in this position purely based on the fact that they announced 9,000 job losses, which is most unfortunate, but they are taking the significant cost saving measures that they're going to have to do in order to keep the business afloat. This has had a knock-on effect, a negative effect on the share price, of course, and it is currently at 20-year lows. This share price has not been seen for over 20 years, which is absolutely mad. The dividend yield is still nicely sitting there at 5% for now, and even at that rate is actually covered 1.4 times over on current revenue, which the company has now had chance to adjust to since there's been a massive drop in global oil demand. Now, this doesn't mean that oil is going away anytime soon. The company hasn't announced it wants to move towards low carbon and becoming an integrated energy company in the long term. That's where it's going to provide electricity as well as obviously oil for motor vehicles. And then what a lot of people forget about is everyday products, everyday consumer products are also dependent on oil, and there isn't no alternatives to them yet. So I believe, although oil is massively beaten up right now, going forward these companies have got a great chance to move into the energy sector and the electricity sector. Electricity use is going up exponentially year on year as we all get even more gadgets in our lives, and with the onset of the electric vehicle as well, that's only going to suck even more electricity in. This for me is a very long term hold. I'm in for the next 10 years, 20 years plus, and I'm hoping, and my research suggests that in that time scale the share price should recover nicely to around £15-20, maybe higher, and I will get and continue to get a dividend and reinvest that in there as well as oil prices recover and as the company moves to the energy and electricity production sector. The next company and stock is Legal & General, ticker ELGEN. I was 18% down in my portfolio at one stage with this one. It's now recovered from £1.77 up to £1.91. It has a fantastic, extremely well covered 10% or almost 10% dividend yields, coming in at about 9.17%. But that dividend, even though it's high, isn't actually at risk because it is extremely well covered 1.8 times over, so they could almost afford to pay it twice based on their present revenue and profits. The company share price has likely taken a hit because of, again, lockdown 2.0 looming. A lot of unemployed people could potentially claim on their insurance, and just extra little things that are going to weigh heavy on an insurance company because of a global pandemic. But the company so far has weathered this storm quite well, is still gaining significant and achieving significant revenue, making profits and paying its dividend, and I see no reason why not to just keep adding to this company. And as the price has got cheaper, that just makes it even better value for me to add to my portfolio. Carnival Cruises, ticker CCL, is our next stock I added to. A lot of you will be like, wow, what the heck have you done that for? Well, I've had the position for a little while and I've suffered about a 30% loss on it, but I'm thinking that each month the share price has languished at around £10 a share for quite a while now. It did spike up to about £15 based on some good news for the company at that point, and I think that it can do that again. So my plan is to average down. I'm at about £16-17 a share average at the moment. I want to average that down to about £14, £13, something like that, bit by bit, month on month, and then when a good news story does arrive, I can offload the company, because I do basically want out, but by averaging down, my position isn't large enough to warrant massive investment to bring the price down. So just a couple of shares extra will bring it down within range, and then a good news story will allow me to offload. I don't see a dividend return into this company anytime soon. However, they have announced that they've got the cash to carry on operating at the present rate until the middle of next year, so there's no real risk of bankruptcy there, at least in the short term, and hopefully that will allow me to exit graciously when a good news story comes, perhaps when they get cruising or they manage to get the restrictions in place to allow people to go on holiday through cruises again. Our last stock today is BP, British Petroleum, ticker BP. Again, another oil company. I imagine some people will be absolutely screaming at their computer or phone screens right now saying, stay away from oil, keep away from oil, what on earth are you doing? Again, I was in this before the pandemic. I believe in the long-term trajectory of these companies, especially Shell and BP with their eye on renewables. A lot of people out there are saying, well, why don't you just invest into renewables straight away? And that is a good point. I am invested in JLEN Enviro. When you look at the amount of assets and money that JLEN Enviro has, they do have about £600 million worth of assets under their management, but that's like, in comparison to oil companies, that's like chicken feed essentially. You've got the likes of BP wanting to invest £5 billion over the next couple of years or so into renewables. So I want to take advantage of both. JLN Enviro is the right way. They're completely all in on renewables, but I still think there's life in oil companies yet. But I do like the fact that they have one eye on the future. BP has got a great yield of 6.5% at the moment. It's also well covered at 1.4 times over. They're currently at 15 to 20 year lows, so it's a great time to buy. The share price is lower now than it was for Deepwater Horizon, and that was when they suspended their dividend for 3 quarters. They're still maintaining their dividend at the moment, which is good going forward, but a lot of investors are a little bit wary over the transition to renewables, and that has caused the minor sell-off that we have seen, as well as the usual measures around the pandemic in terms of the lack of travel and oil not being used as much as it normally would be. So to conclude then, guys, I appreciate not the most glamorous stocks in the world, to be fair. Never going to be 100% returns in the near future. However, that what they are rock solid dividend payers that have got a decent future ahead of them in terms of sustaining that dividend. Apart from Carnival Cruises, CC Howell, which I told you my plan with is to offload as soon as I can, because there's no dividend coming from them anytime soon, and that is the whole point of this portfolio. But I'm thinking 10, 20, 30 years down the line here, when Shell, BP have made that transition, insurance is still a thing obviously, and we have health just the same as always, very, very important. So these companies 20 years down the line, this will be a blip right now. I'm going to have to take on the consequences of that and suffer in the short term, but I think over 20 years time I can take advantage of significant upside and share price growth, as well as dividend income and dividend growth over the longer term, especially in the more sustainable companies. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, guys. It's been absolutely fantastic to speak with you today. If you could see your way to liking the video, that would be absolutely fantastic. And if you've not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so now. That all being said, it's been a pleasure to bring you this episode again, and I hope to see you in the next one. Catch you later. Bye bye.